So I want to share a funny story that happened about a week ago or 2 weeks ago. I can't even remember. Um, so I was in a training for work, and I met someone at a training. Doesn't work for my company, but we just so happened to be at the same training. Um, and seemed like a nice guy. Um, during the we had been to this training for at least 3 months already, but that was the first time that we sort of clicked. About, I would say, a month ago was when we noticed each other. I noticed him like staring at me, and I was looking back at him because I was trying to figure out, is he looking at me? It's like, I don't know. Anyway, it turned out at the end of the class, at the end of the training session a month ago, that he, came up to me and said, "Listen, sorry, I was staring at you and it was making you feel uncomfortable." And, he said he found me attractive, whatever the case may be. So okay, not a problem, perfectly fine. So we decided to exchange numbers and just talk and chat or whatever. His name was Leo. So we're texting because we had sort of like opposite schedules. So I would work during the mornings, he would work during the evenings, and so it was not hard, but it takes some time. In any event, so we were talking during I would say the first week of us just chatting via text messages and phone calls and um, FaceTime. I was noticing a couple of things that caught my attention that I wasn't too thrilled about. So there was one time during the first week when we were, talking. Yeah, he had said that he felt like I wasn't I wasn't demonstrating enough interest, and so I said, "Well, what do you like? What do you? How did you arrive at that conclusion? We've only been chatting like, for I think at that time it was just about a week." And so he's like, "Oh well, and this is what he said. He said, because he told me this in person, by the way. He goes, well, I noticed that when I text you, sometimes you take long to respond, and I'm sitting here because I was sitting in my car waiting for him. And he goes, and I'm sitting here, and I see that you're on your phone, which tells me that." I don't know. He was arriving at the conclusion that because I was on my phone, at that time, at that moment in time, I was always on my phone, and that there wasn't a reason why there may have been a delay in text messages. And so I said to him, I said, well, if I wasn't interested, I wouldn't be here. And I don't read delays in text messages as not being interested in you. But that was a strike number one for me. I was like, that is such a turn off. Like, we're not even like officially, like, we're not dating. We haven't even like gone out somewhere. This was the first time that we sort of met up after we had initially met each other at the training. And I was just like, I've always been very turned off by someone who has too many expectations way too soon. Like, for example, I don't know if you remember when I was mentioning the guy on Tinder who was just doing the most for our first interaction. So I felt like he's doing the most. We've only been chatting for a week, and I really don't even know you that, like that. So I don't understand what's the big hoopla, So, I said, let me just let it go. I said, let it go. Strike number two. He, in that that same day when we had met up. Oh, I think they brought back our easy pass link. Thank God. Um, he says because he was 39 years old. I don't think I'm giving too much information out there. It's plenty of 39-year-old Leos out there, so whatever. He says to me that it's weird for him that at his age, because he's 39 and I'm 26, I am much more advanced in my career. I have my degree, and he doesn't have those things. I mean, he has a job, but career-wise, he was not at the same, I don't want to say level, but we didn't have, our titles and our responsibilities were not very close. So he said he felt the way about that. And I just was like, how ugly does that look on someone? That you are openly admitting this, and we've only been talking for a week. Like, that was major turn off. So after that, I was like, I don't think this is gonna go anywhere, but I don't mind a friend, so let's just leave it as is. And so we mutually sort of stopped messaging each other. And so I can't remember what it was last week, but we had the training again, and he was there. I saw him, and I said hello. I smiled, and went to lunch. We didn't go to lunch together, but when we went out for lunch during the training session, I saw him again, and I said hello, and I smiled, and he just kept walking. No problem. I mean, I really didn't care, because at that, I don't really care, So at the end of the training, he's like, oh, can I talk to you? So I'm like, okay, no problem. Do you know, this man was like so angry. Maybe not, let me just take away the word angry. He wasn't angry, but he was so distraught that he had to come and talk to me. And he said that he's like, oh, this is what people your age do. They just stop talking to someone out of nowhere. And I'm like, it was mutual. You stopped texting me too. Like, I don't understand. And then he says, yeah, because the last time that we spoke, we were talking on the phone, and I told you I was gonna call you right back. And when I called you right back, you didn't answer. And I'm like, okay, I wanted to scream, but we were in a public place, and I'm like, let me just save face, because what I really want to tell this person, because I was thinking of it on the name of my head, was, at your age, you need to be concerned about other things. You know what I'm saying? And it makes sense now why at your age you're single, because it doesn't make sense that you would be so upset that I didn't answer a phone call that it prompted you to stop texting me. And I didn't make a conscious decision not to text him, but I noticed after a while that he wasn't texting me, and I wasn't interested like that anymore based on what had happened. So I said, well, it must be mutual, not a problem. It wasn't anything. There was no negative, there was no F you, don't ever call me again. There was no, I think this is, I think it's best that we don't talk ever again. There was none of that. It was just mutually stopped messaging each other. But I guess when he saw me and he saw that I was not bothered, that bothered him. He was so upset. And I was just like, I literally sat, we weren't sitting, we were standing. And I was just like, okay. I mean, I don't know what you want me to tell you, because I don't owe you anything. And it's been like 2 weeks since we last spoke, maybe even more. So, I don't know. And he was like, well, best of luck to you. But I think that, I think that was not really cool. And I'm like, I don't think I did anything that was uncool. That I didn't return your phone call? I'm sorry, that wasn't the problem. It wasn't that I didn't return the phone call, which I didn't. But his problem was that I didn't answer the phone call when he called me back. And so he's like, you make time for the people that, that you care and that you're interested about. And I'm like, yes, you're right about that. You do. But we didn't talk long enough for me to foster that type of sentiment about you. You know what I'm saying? I mean, I'm also not going to pretend that if I was really interested in him, I would have kept it going. But after strike number 1 and then strike number 2, honey, I ran like the Flintstones. I was out of there because it just doesn't add up. I'm the type of person, I've always said and believed, like my love, Judge Judy says, do not pee on my leg and tell me it's raining. You know what I'm saying? These reasons that you're finding to be upset, number 1, are not that serious. Number 2, it is way too, you got issues because you're having these issues like a week or 2 after we first started speaking. We haven't even gone out on an official date, And even then, I said to him, I said, I would like to go out on a date. And he's like, oh, that's too much pressure. And I'm like, too much pressure? You're 39. How is that too much pressure? You need to be out here dating like every day. But I just felt like it just wasn't adding up. In any event, that was just a funny story. It was comical. Even while it was happening, I really wanted to burst out laughing. But then at the same token, he was much taller and much bigger built than I was, and clearly he was missing a screw. So I'm like, let me not mess too much with this guy before he comes and punches me in the face in this training session or whatnot. But yeah, so I don't understand why, I've had such a difficult time dating in general. After my breakup 2 years ago from my ex. And I find, and I don't know why this is, but my 2 common issues is that I have trouble finding someone who is sort of like-minded and as driven and as hardworking. I'm the type of person, I'm not going to wait until I'm at a deficit to figure the situation out. So if I need to find 3 jobs and have 3 jobs to make sure that I'm good, then that's what I'm going to do. I don't wait until I'm like, rock bottom. That's just not me. It's never been me. It will never be me. So I have issues finding people who are that way or like that. And when I do find someone, they, for some reason, it's happened a lot of times, they're just so intimidated, about who I am. And it's not that they're intimidated by my personality. That's not what they get intimidated about. They're intimidated about my lifestyle in general. The fact that I live alone, I've got my college degree, I've got a pretty good job despite how stressful it is. And I've got my car. I've always been that person. I've always been independent. I've always been hardworking. So it intimidates people. It's like it works against me. I'm like, don't you want someone who's like, put together? You don't have to worry about building them up. Like, I'm good money. I don't need anyone to encourage me. Now, while I would want someone who is as motivated and is as encouraged as I am, I don't need you to do that for me. And I don't necessarily want to do that for someone else. I've been in relationships where someone requires frequent and constant motivation, and that's a turn off for me. It's one of the things that I learned over the past few years about myself. So I can't fix you, that's That's what I always have issues with. You know, finding someone who's put together that doesn't require, any type of fixing. It's not like I need to find someone where I'm saying, let's fix your face. But what I do need is someone who's gonna do their stuff for themselves. I don't wanna, if so, of course, everyone every now and then needs either a pep talk or cheer me up, whatever. That's fine. But those people who you need to be constantly motivating because they don't have or they lack the self worth to do it on their own. I've dealt with these people. I don't want to deal with them. They take up too much energy. So that's always my problem when it comes to dating. And I've spoken to several different people over the years. I have dated many different people with different careers, and it just always seems to be the same thing. So it just hasn't worked out, and I don't know what it is. I'm like, do I have to be hiding? Do I have to hide from people who I am in order to get them to not to be intimidated? It's just so frustrating. But that's what I deal with on a constant basis. I just don't understand. And I don't mind people who are busy, because I'm very busy and I understand it. And when you are genuinely interested in someone and they don't give you, there's no red flags that are raised, you make the time, So I will make the time for someone who I really want to get to know. I make the time for those who are in my life when it's being reciprocated. But I've just had issues dating in general. With that being said, everyone, have a good day, whether you're at work, whether you're a stay-at-home mom, whatever it is that you do. You work from home, you've got your own business. Have a good day. It's hump day, we're almost there. And I'm so excited because, as I said, I believe it was last week, I've made the commitment to not come into the office on weekends anymore and not deal with anything at work or not deal with anything that's work related that's not an emergency. So unless it's an emergency, please do not call me. I need to set boundaries in order for me to survive. With that being said, have a good day, everyone. Wednesday morning.